or vibration. Thank you so very much. So I would want to extend a very warm welcome to you all once again. Honorable Minister Sri KTR Garu is unable to join us today, and he's expressed regrets and has sent best wishes to this conference. However, we have in our midst Sri Jayesh Ranjan Garu, IAS, Secretary IT, Department of IT, Government of Telangana with us. Sir, a very warm welcome to you, and may I request you to grace the stage, please. And may I request Bharani Arul, Secretary, SCSC, to accompany him to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause, please. May I now request Brigadier General Retired Doran Tamir. Brigadier General Doran Tamir, retired, is the chairman of Cybersecurity Group in Tel Aviv, Israel. He was the founding member of Israeli Cybersecurity Bureau, PMO office. He is the former director of Israel Cybersecurity, CCC, Cyber Lab CEO, Cybersecurity Group. He held several challenging roles as a senior director of Israel National Cyber Bureau, Chief Intelligence Officer of Israeli Defense Force for 25 years. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause. May I now invite Dr. Rudramurthy, Chief Information Security Officer, Minister of Home Affairs, Government of India. Mr. Murthy was earlier associated with UIDAI MSP in the capacity of the Chief Information Security Officer. He also adorned many roles in large organizations like Aujas Networks, IBM, Emphasis, etc. May I invite Mr. Roland Cloutier, Senior VP, Chief Information Security Officer, ADP. Roland has functional and operational responsibility for ADP's cyber, information protection, risk, workforce protection, crisis management, and investigative security operations worldwide. May I invite Sri Sandeep Shandilya, IPS, Commissioner of Police, Cyberabad Police Commissionerate. He has also contributed his services on one-year deputation to the UN at Kosovo and has been a great support to the initiatives of SCSC. Sri Shandilya has been awarded the Police Medal for Gallantry in the year 2002, Indian Police Medal and President Police Medal in the year 2010 for meritorious services in Police Department. Joining him, may I invite Sri Mahesh Bhagavat, IPS, Commissioner of Police, Rajkanda Police Commissionerate. Mr. Bhagavat has the distinction of the IPS officer from Telangana who has won an award from the US Department of State for his fight against human trafficking in India. He is also very actively working on women's empowerment and safety and has won several accolades to his cap. May I now invite Mr. G.T. Venkateshwar Rao, IRS, Commissioner, ESD, Government of Telangana, who is currently on deputation with Government of Telangana as Commissioner, Electronic Service Delivery, Special Commissioner, E-Governance, and Managing Director, Telangana, State Technology Services and Department of Information Technology, Electronics and Communication. And I would very proudly want to invite Sri C.V. Anand Garu, IPS, the erstwhile Commissioner of the Cyberabad Police Commissionerate. Sir, you've been the backbone to this entire initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause. And joining the dignitaries on the stage is Mr. Anil Hassan, an industry veteran with over 25 years of experience in global markets such as Middle East and Asia Pacific, besides covering India and SAARC region. He is currently the Managing Director of Palo Alto Networks for India and SAARC. He was earlier associated with Cisco as Senior VP and Service Leader for India and SAARC and has essayed several roles in commercial, FSI and enterprise. May I now request the audience. And I'm so sorry, definitely not the least, may I invite Mr. Shrikant Srinivasan, Regional Director, NASSCOM, who's been, again, a backbone for this particular conference. He's been ideating since, I guess, 2 months, 3 months, Shrikant. Welcome. Let's start with this conference with the auspicious lighting of lamp. May I request the dignitaries on the stage to proceed for the lighting of the lamp, please. Thank you, gentlemen. May we use this opportunity for a small photograph to all speakers together, please, on the stage, yes. For the posterity. Thank you, gentlemen. May I request you to be please seated on the stage. To set the program going, I invite Bharani Kumara Roll, Secretary SCSC, to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, Bharani.
Thank you, Priya. Respected Principal Secretary Jayesh Ranjan Garu, and Commissioner of Police and also Chairman of SCSC, Mr. Sandeep Shandilya, and GT Venkateshwar Garu, CP Rajkonda, Mahesh Bhagavat Garu, CV Anand Garu, Commissioner of PDS, and GT Venkateshwar Garu, MD, TSTS, Anil Hassan, MD of Palo Alto, Roland Cloutier, ADP CISO, and Brigadier General Tamir, and also Dr. Rudramurthy, my Executive Council members of EC, Cyberabad Security Council, and HICC EC members, IT leaders, ladies and gentlemen, and friends from media, and all others who have come today to grace the occasion. A very, very warm welcome to all of you. And I also welcome you to the 3rd edition of Cyberabad Security Council's Cyber Security Conclave 3.0. Well, I'm sure most of you know Cyberabad Security Council is a collaborative effort between IT industry, police department, and IT E&C department. We've been focusing on a lot of safety and security measures in the IT corridor, primarily focusing on infrastructure safety, women's safety, traffic safety, and now, the recent years, we started focusing more on the cyber security. And I take pride in stating that SCSC has successfully hosted 2 cybersecurity conclaves in the last 2 years, and this is the 3rd in the series. And every time we have done it, there was very overwhelming support from the IT industry and the IT ecosystem and from the government as well. So we thank you very much for that. And as a part of the Cybersecurity Forum, we have done a lot of thought leadership programs as well. And we try to do a couple of awareness sessions for all the IT employees to make sure that they don't fall victims of any cyber threats. Well, you have witnessed the last two conclaves, and this is the third one. And our mission in the next 5 years is that we want to be kind of making this cybersecurity event one of the best in this part of the world. And I can assure you that with the support of the IT industry and the government has always been there. So we will make that happen. And the theme of this year's conclave, as you all know, is Cyber Intelligence to Empower Enterprises. Findings of recent survey reveal that to better manage cyber threats and reduce the risk of cyber security breaches, companies prioritize 3 key capabilities. About 62% of the companies focused on threat detection, followed by 43% of the companies focused on better analytical capabilities, and about 39% of the organizations focused on threat blocking. 58% of the organizations estimated that they reduced the number of security breaches by about 25% by implementing some form of the cyber intelligence, threat intelligence, and monitoring methodologies. Adopting an intelligence-led approach to managing cyber risk is key to building cyber resilience. By identifying the relevant, current, and emerging threats to the organization, you proactively identify and mitigate incoming attacks. Cyber intelligence is based on the collection of intelligence using open source intelligence, human intelligence, social media intelligence, or intelligence from the deep and dark web. The underlying concept is to research and analyze trends and technical developments in different forms of cyber threats. Those accumulated data based on research and analysis enable the targeted community or cybersecurity solutions providers to be able to come up with mitigative actions and develop solutions in advance. Throughout the day, we will be witnessing a lot of sessions on these topics and a lot of current topics on cybersecurity, the mitigation techniques, tools and technologies that are available. And also, very importantly, there is going to be a lot of live simulation sessions using artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies. In addition, we will be covering different facets of cybersecurity, cyber risk services, cybersecurity decision making, cyber privacy, deciphering GDPR, which is a very, very important topic, which is coming up a big way in Europe. We don't know to what extent it's going to be, impacting the IT industry. There's a lot of speculation, but in my opinion, I don't think it's going to be really impacting, but it'll only be adding value to the IT industry services. Manifestation of blockchain in enhancing enterprise security. We always thought about blockchain being an underlying technology for the cryptocurrency, but this is becoming a huge, platform for strengthening the cyber security aspects. Future of cybersecurity, gearing up the next generation of cyber warriors, pretty much aligning with Telangana's sectoral policy on cybersecurity. We'll be talking about India's current policy and roadmap in the digitized era as well. We have close to 22 speakers coming from US, UK, Israel, and various states in India, representing prestigious institutions addressing these diverse issues. Telangana state, as you all know, despite being the newest state in the country, has earned widespread recognition and acclaim for its agility to adopt new and emerging technologies and best practices in different spheres of activities. As you're again aware, the IT&C Department of Telangana government has embarked on many different initiatives, very progressive initiatives rather, pertaining to the growth of IT industry in the state. Cybersecurity policy, one of the sectoral policies launched by the government last year, demonstrates the state's vision to create a cyber resilient ecosystem, engaging all the stakeholders. Cyber Security Council has come up with a 4-point agenda for its cyber initiatives aligning with the government's vision. A 4-point agenda is devised on: first, government and industry partnership focuses on policy advisory, emergency response, SOC planning and enablement. We've been working very closely with the government. Second, hands-on workshops for security professionals, quarterly training modules on troubleshooting and technology solutions. Also, we want to be creating an awareness programs for public at large. Third, awareness campaigns for end users such as, as I said, as for the public, in form of short capsules, videos, and emergency advisory. Fourth, thought leadership sessions, enterprise level activity, including annual conclave like this one, quarterly sessions either at the common or member premises. This conclave is a step towards the last mentioned objective. We welcome you to utilize this platform of all the stakeholders involved here to participate in exchange on the latest threat mitigation techniques on cyber intelligence and analytics. An unique aspect of this conclave is that we have a separate track for the police, senior police officers, where some of our speakers, distinguished speakers, are going to be addressing them, enlightening them about what kind of cyber threats are there for the law enforcement, police officers to take note of, and how they should be able to mitigate all of them. I think this is the first of its kind in the entire country, and we're just trying it out this time, and I'm sure it's going to be taking a bigger scale in the future to come. And this was, of course, an idea of our chairman, Mr. Sandeep Shandilya. Our speakers at the conference are largely from the IT fraternity, academia, practitioners, solution providers, senior police officers, domain experts, and cyber enthusiasts. I request all the delegates to leverage the platform to gain, exchange, and subsequently disseminate the knowledge on all aspects of cybersecurity. Also, I encourage all of you to visit the stalls settled by these sponsors, outside. With these prefatory remarks, I have the pleasure to invite Dr. Rudramurthy to address his keynote speech. Dr. Rudramurthy, please.
Thank you. I think my presentation is ready. I welcome one and all for this SCSC Cybersecurity Conclave Edition 3, if I'm not wrong. Glad to be here with such a distinguished speakers and the participants. I thought of taking this opportunity to touch base on one of the critical cyber security threat factor for the nation. As all of you know that cyber security is a pretty vast subject. Instead of me getting into the getting lost in the jargon, I thought of touching one of the critical element. I hope I'm audible. So the way forward for the nation on cyber security and cyber crime aspects during the digital banking and economy transformation. So whatever I present here, purely my own personal views with possible information available, both public and private sector, side. See, a few advantage of this digitalization, especially for the banking sector, if you see, less operation cost for banking institution. What it eventually means, it helps banks to lessen their branches and branch staff and further operational cost. Yes, it's a good welcome for the banking industry with enablement of digitalization and IT. And faster onboarding and deboarding of customers. You know that recently one of the telecom industry from India made a world record by subscribing millions of customers. It could happen just because of one of the great and efficient e-governance program we as in India carry. I'm talking about Aadhaar. And it further enables, it's not visible. It further enables customer control self-services. In fact, I believe most of you know, Aadhaar is one of its kind which came up with self-service update portal, including your name, which is a critical thing, critical identity as part of our legality. You could pretty much change without walking into any enrollment center. provided you fulfill the required criteria by Aadhaar. So it's a great phenomena. It could happen just because of the digitization. In fact, recently we have launched M-Aadhaar. You don't even need to carry the physical copy of your identity. You can pretty much carry your digital identity. Yes, any advantage comes with certain disadvantage. We, as an executor, have to understand the risk and evaluate our risk appetite. Accordingly, we have to have effective controls to mitigate this risk to go forward. Yes, online transaction failures, one of the critical things, and which enables complexity with the current technological background the banking sector carries. This one is, for a certain extent, being addressed by the new technology evolution, the one I'm talking about, blockchain. But however, at this point of time, still it's complex to resolve any wallet-based transactions. Lack of relationship with customer. We as human beings, psychologically, we get that comfort when we have human interaction. That has to be further enhanced. This could be mitigated with, again, artificial intelligence, such kind of mechanisms. But however, this is still one of the critical elements for people to migrate on the digital banking side. Yes, the possible cyber attacks. Obviously, yes, most of the traditional cyber risk factor you do carry for the digitization. But however, having said this, there are exclusive cyber threat factors during the digital migration, right? Obviously, your business consumer, your customer, he is not matured enough to carry his transaction in the digital migrations. We as an agency, both government as well as the private agencies, has to pay enough attention to mature his understanding of the digital world. Obviously, lack of governance and accountability on digital wallet features. Recently, yes, RBI has come up with the new licensing, enhanced licensing scheme, but still that has to mature. Malicious activities and launching targeted attacks. Right now, the digitization is available for a customer in many different forms, including mobile platform, right? So the threat factor for mobile has to be considered while migrating on the digital side. So obviously, yes, man in the middle attack, especially for the new technological level, like the smartphones and the IoT devices, has to be considered because they are much more vulnerable than the traditional, the end user systems. Denial of service, what I'm talking about, right now, the ransomware is maturing, again because of digital evolution. Ransomware is there for the last 2 decades, but in last 2 years, the maturity and progress of ransomware attacks is on 3 digits. It could happen because now criminal has found an easy way of getting his monetary benefit, what I'm talking in virtual currency. Though it's a great evolution from the technological side for society, at the same time it has enabled criminals to effectively utilize such a great technology. So with bitcoins and all this happening, they are expanding their threat factors and criminal activities by ways of ransomware. What if you made completely digital banking and customer, he lost access to his mobile device due to ransomware attack, right? So these things has to be considered. So having said this, it's always good to look at our current capabilities and strengths. So let us see what we as a nation carry the cyber security, cyber crime capabilities. So do we have right capabilities? Are we doing the things in a right way? These both are pretty much essential. You might have great capability, but if your execution lacks, I mean, there is no point of having such a strength. The current capabilities, if you see, yes, we do have a national cybersecurity policy, which is of 2013, by Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, and we do have another information security policy and guideline by Home Ministry, which was developed and released in 2014. So pay a bit attention here, I'm briefing certain initiatives of Government of India and the agencies who are executing and carrying administrative privileges of these initiatives. And NCCC, which was found some 2 years ago, their primary focus is to build the intelligence on the cyberspace and help the nation to overcome such cyber attacks and terrorism activities. And NCI IPC, which is National Critical Protection Center, Infrastructure Protection Center, which again comes under NTRO. Their focus is to primarily look at the critical infrastructure like power, energy, and etc. And then we do have CERTIN, Computer Emergency Response Team of India. They work for all the agencies. And yes, this one of the initiative Ministry of Home has come up with, the implementation is going to start in a couple of weeks. Primarily focusing on women and children on the cyberspace because they are the most vulnerable as per the statistics. How to protect them on the cyber side. There's a new initiative and I hope that will benefit the women in the nation and children in the nation. In fact, the blue whale, you might have different whales. Yes, these kind of online games. Day before yesterday, the new game has come up. I forgot the name. It's a 48 hours challenge to commit suicide. So the blue whale is 50 challenges. There is no time limitation. The new game, which is 48 hours for you to commit, suicide. Their target is to materialize people who are psychologically weak, especially the children and women. And Data Security Council of India, which is an NASCOM initiative, they have been doing tremendous job on this cyberspace. And obviously, yes, state duties, they have their own capabilities. And Telangana is one of the state which is always ahead in terms of technological adoption and migration. I came to know that that's the first state to have state-level cybersecurity policy. My kudos to the state and Secretary IT to have such a great initiative. Yes, obviously, though we have capabilities, I don't mind shying away with certain facts. Though these are generic in nature, there are certain exceptions, like Telangana, which is always ahead. The way government works, that itself is a bit hurdle, for great initiatives. The fact of the matter, even at a section level officer, there is no information exchange between the officers. And how we can have such a great initiative to materialize where cyber doesn't have any boundaries and information flows like hell, right? And we as human being and officer level, there is still limitation, in terms of information exchange. Obviously, yes, the way bureaucracy works, things are changing now during the digital migration. Now citizen is always ahead. We don't have an option now. Yes, as I said, the other challenges in lack of decision making due to information is not available at right time, though information exists. Delay in investigation. This is a major challenge, especially for police officers, where they are highly limited with the jurisdictions. Cyber is breaking it, right? So how do they carry their investigation further on this? Right? When information, though it is available, they don't have access to it to investigate. Lack of accountability. Duplicate of investment, we do this pretty lot. Every scheme we come up with, you do see that a scheme has its own cyber security element. We don't leverage the existing IT or the cyber security capabilities of existing projects. Duplicate service lines. The reason I said there are so many agencies initiatives, you might see there is a duplicate of service lines in these initiatives. We can pretty much avoid this. Yes, at the end of the day, multiple agencies creates lack of coordination, lack of accountability. Everyone feels responsible, but no one wants. The way forward, this is my personal opinion, doing the things right by leveraging the existing capabilities and strengthening further to have national level single institution. I mean, let it be an enterprise or a citizen, doesn't need to run multiple doors for its cyber security services. It's better to have and better to leverage existing capabilities, bring them onto one window, an entity. At this point of time, cyber security is being executed by different ministries. Cyber crime is responsible by the police. In a way, it's a home ministry at national level. With this, we can establish proper authority, which will have accountability and will further establish accountability till the PSU levels and the private agencies, and do frequent assessment and carry the enforcement mechanism, which currently we lack. One of the police officers, we were chit-chatting, though we have taken initiative to certify the devices and set up a lab, we still lack in enforcing such an initiative, right? And be available, as I said, as an agency, for a common person to enterprise, for him to have a proper business execution and lifestyle in the country. With that, I would like to thank my agency, SCSC, for providing me this opportunity, and wish you all good luck for the event.
Thank you, Dr. Rudramurthy, for all those insights on what your government has been just kind of doing in terms of cybersecurity initiatives. And we would like to see SCSC also becoming part of your presentation in the future, because the work that we do, like how you said about NASCOM, we certainly want SCSC to just find a place in your presentation sometime. And we will definitely make sure that it will get there. And due to some commitments that Principal Secretary Jayesh Garu has, I think he needs to also leave at 10:30. And respecting his kind of schedule, we just have to kind of make some small rearrangements in the overall schedule. So what we're going to be doing is that the very first time Cyberabad Security Council has instituted a Cybersecurity Awards. That's not been done in any part of the country again. So we just started that activity, and with that, Deloitte has been our partner, and they've done an amazing job in terms of collating all the information among the companies, and then be able to shortlist the winners, and we collectively decided who the winners are. So may I request Ramu, partner from Deloitte, also to be on the stage, please. Today, the need of the hour is that all organizations must have a cybersecurity incident response plan in place, and they should stay tuned through regular exercises. This will ensure that all organization users understand the procedures that will be implemented in the event of a significant cyber disruption or breach, thereby enabling a more effective and efficient response. When a compromise occurs, the organization that fare the best will be those that quickly detect the issue and have a plan in place to respond. Keeping this in view, SCSC announced the Cybersecurity Awards within the IT corridor to assess the overall security existing in our organizations, preparing them to be shields of cyber terror. Out of a comprehensive survey of nominations received, 2 organizations have emerged winners of the SCSC Cyber Awards survey with a tie. May I request Jayesh Ranjan Garu to give away the awards, please, and along with Ramu. I request also the other dignitaries to, GT Garu and CP Garu, CP Rachakonda Garu, everybody to just kind of, come together and then give away the awards. We have the team from HSBC. Yes, please. Ajesh and his team member to receive the award, please. May I request the second awardee, Wipro, to come and collect the prize, please. Vijay, who is the center head, who's here along with his colleague from Thank you, gentlemen, and also congratulations to both of you, and I think you've done an amazing job. And we're also planning to institute an award for the startup community, and since we didn't have much time and also much participation at this point in time, we thought we would just do it the next year. And now may I request Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, Principal Secretary IT and Industries, to address the gathering, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Brigadier General Tamir, Mr. Roland, Dr. Murthy, Police Commissioners, Mr. Shandelia, Mr. Bhagwat, Mr. C.V. Anand, Mr. Venkateshwar Rao, Mr. Bhasin, Mr. Bharani, Mr. Shrikant, distinguished invitees, speakers, ladies and gentlemen. It's a matter of great satisfaction to see the third edition of the annual cybersecurity conclave take off so successfully. I also would like to convey greetings of our Minister for IT, Mr. KT Ramarao. He was supposed to be here for the inaugural, but today we have a meeting of the cabinet, the state cabinet, and Chief Minister has called all the ministers for a huddle in the morning. So he has conveyed his regrets, but he has also conveyed his good wishes and has expressed his satisfaction at the tremendous role the Cyberabad Security Council has played in keeping our city safe, both physically as well as virtually. And I would also like to add my compliments. I do hope, when Mr. Barney was mentioning that Cyberabad Security Council should find place in all these national presentations, I completely endorse that thought, because I don't think any other city in our country today has this kind of an institutional arrangement in place, a unique partnership between different wings of the government and the industry, to come with a very, very comprehensive arrangement of taking care of all security related aspects. I would also like to compliment our police officers. Telangana Police, as it is considered to be one of the role models in the country. And the fact that they use technology with so much of skills and effectiveness in tackling of this, for example, of our government websites, etc., were compromised. But it doesn't mean that nothing else is going to happen in the future. I mean, just because we were able to handle one crisis efficiently doesn't guarantee that all future crises will be effectively handled. So, like any other kind of security threat, the importance of remaining alert, the importance of proactively tracking these masterminds, the importance of having a strong intelligence and surveillance mechanism, it cannot be undermined. And obviously this is something which the governments alone do, and as Mr. Murthy mentioned, There are multiple arms of the government. Sometimes they lack ability to work in sync, coordinate their efforts, synergize their efforts. So obviously, there is a need for all the government agencies to do this together and obviously do it in complete collaboration and support with the private industry. In fact, we all saw that two of our industries, HSBC and Wipro, have been given awards for the good work that they did in the last 1 year. My suggestion would be that why don't we share all the good practices, why don't we have more of information sharing amongst ourselves on what has been done by one can be emulated by others as well. This is something which we feel is greatly lacking in our country, and in fact some of the experts, particularly cybersecurity experts, have lamented this fact. I recall about a couple of years ago, our minister and myself, we were in the United States, and we got a chance to meet Mr. Ajay Banga, who is the CEO of MasterCard. And he told us that on any given day, MasterCard database receives almost 30,000 hacking attempts. And on a bad day, it can even go to 50,000 to 60,000. And he said that very little of that work, the preventive work and putting all the firewalls and all the security infrastructure in place, he said that very little of that work is done in India. Practically nothing is done in India because there is so little of information sharing, there is so little of a legal framework through which identity protection, data protection, etc. can take place. So just as the Cyberabad Security Council has taken the lead in various other initiatives, let this practice also of greater information sharing. The moment my database has been attempted to be hacked, can I immediately share the IP from which this hacking attempt was made with everyone else so that preventive steps are taken by others as well. So this kind of information sharing and a legal framework through which confidentiality is maintained, privacy is maintained, is again something very important. And I do hope that Cyberabad Security Council, along with the government, will take a lead in this. As other speakers highlighted, Telangana is one of the few states which has its own state policy. While there is a national policy framework about which we learned from Mr. Murthy, from Dr. Murthy, there are a few states which have come out with their own state level policies. Telangana incidentally was the first state in the country which came out with its own cyber security policy. And since the last year and a half that this policy has been in existence, we have done a number of things to give effect to what we had promised in the policy. We have started sensitization programs. We are partnering with universities and industry bodies like NASSCOM to run detailed training programs for our students. We have also started awareness programs. Plus, another very important thing that we do is to audit all the databases, particularly the government databases, about their levels of security, etc. We are very close to setting up our own SOC as well as an infrastructure for protection of critical government installations. So as I was sharing earlier in the day, just before this plenary, we had a small round table with a few select CEOs where I mentioned that all this obviously needs to be done in a very, very collaborative manner, in a partnership approach. And I understand that lots of industry leaders, lots of representatives from niche cybersecurity companies, we have representatives from startup community present in the audience. So if you have a product or a service which is aligned with the requirements of the government, we'll be very happy to look at what you have to offer. And in case it meets our requirements, we'll be very happy to onboard it as well. We have been doing this for the last 1 year. We have organized some very important international visits by our cybersecurity homegrown companies. We have a MOU with the Hague Security Delta, and we have sent our companies twice to the Hague and the surrounding areas to understand what are the learnings from that region. And we have also invited their delegations to Hyderabad to interact with our companies. So ours is one state which does take the responsibility as a government of ensuring that our citizens are safe from virtual threats also, from cyber threats also. And the fact that we have been completely unscathed in the last, let us say, couple of years, when the whole world has seen some of the deadliest cyber attacks, shows or in a way demonstrates that we are kind of doing our things right, as Dr. Murthy had mentioned in his presentation. But at the same time, as I alluded a while ago, what has already been achieved is history. We need to remain guarded for future threats, for future crises, and the more alert we are and the more collaborative and participative we are, the better our chances will be of remaining safe in the future also. I do hope that this conclave will give good ideas, practical suggestions, also showcase some important products and services which have come out in the market in the last year or so, and it will be of tremendous benefit to all the participants. Once again, my good wishes to all of you, and look forward to a very, very useful and productive collaboration in the future. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for those encouraging and motivating words. And sir, I should certainly make a statement about your support to Cyberabad Security Council all this long. And when we talked about the concept of She Shuttle, which is one of the flagship service of Cyberabad Security Council, sometimes many of the industry folks know She Shuttle than Cyberabad Security Council itself. So when we conceived that idea, and the first person to have been reached, Mr. C.V. and myself, was Mr. Jayesh Ranjan. We socialized the thought with him. He was very readily agreeing to kind of support that initiative. And today, we have 5 She Shuttles running in all different parts of IT corridor, including one in Rajakonda. Thank you very much for all your support, sir. We definitely look forward to that support again. As you mentioned about information sharing, right, between organizations on the cybersecurity initiatives, the best methodologies, best practices, and all that stuff. We already implemented that in the Infrastructure Safety Professionals group. We have a group called Cyberabad Heads of Security Group, where we have people, heads of security, come and share what are the best practices and methodologies, tools and techniques they use to be able to, keep their premises very safe. And such information sharing is happening already. As a part of our 4-point agenda, we will definitely incorporate the information sharing between cybersecurity professionals to be able to, strengthen the overall cyber resilience of our system. So before you leave, sir, but we would like to, request Mr. Mahesh Bhagwat and Mr. Sandeep Shandilya to felicitate him by giving a memento, please. Again, thank you very much for just gracing this occasion. Now I request Mr. Roland Cloutier, as Chief Security Officer of ADP, to address the gathering, please.
Good morning, everyone. Got technical difficulties. Give us 1 minute.
As long as it's not hacked.
Did you remember my password?
No. Is it a different cable? Jagdish, is there any different cable? Little cable. Ya power was coming. Sorry about that. You want that a little closer, the screen, so that you'll be able to see that when you make the presentation. That's right.
Oh, there we go. All right. Okay. Well, good morning again. And thank you for having me here today. Before I get started, I'd like to just say to the law enforcement folks that are here today and present and the government officials, thank you very much, because without what you do every day and the participation and the show of support you give the commercial entity, it is almost impossible to do our jobs every day with the onslaught of cyber attacks and implications against our businesses. So thank you very much. Today, I'm going to be speaking more to the practitioners, to you who do this job that I do every day about protecting our businesses. And in fact, I want to spend most of the time focusing on a term that we use called business operations protection. Because I think the concept of cyber and information security and information assurance has really been played way too much without thinking about the core residual impact of what we're doing every day. And that is all about business operations protection. It's not just about the firewalls. It's about the sustainability of an entity, and whether it's a government organization or it is a BPO or a manufacturing entity. Our jobs as security, risk, and privacy practitioners truly is focused on protecting the businesses that we serve every day. Problem is that there are certainly some gaps in making that happen. If you think about an end-to-end business, how I develop a product to how I deliver a product, and all of those processes in between, there are some pretty significant gaps. The first and foremost is this issue around technology as a focus. I mean, think about it. You go to a security training session or a tech show or something like that. It's all about the technology, the new AI platform, the new firewall, the new this or that or identity solution. Oftentimes, we spend so much time focused on technology controls, we fail to look at our businesses. We fail to understand how our businesses operate, how they make money, or how our agencies support our society. The next big gap we have is we're all so busy looking at our own businesses. And this concept we say is living inside our own box. I mean, think about it. If you're a fighter or a boxer or you're in the martial arts, imagine getting into a box and trying to fight from within that box. It's not easy. Or if you're trying to understand who's coming at you and you can't see above your box. Well, when we focus on security inside of our own organizations, looking just at our firewalls, just at our networks, not understanding the completeness of all of the entities outside who would do us harm, or of the technologies or processes that impact our businesses every day, we're defending from inside our own box, and it's almost impossible to do our job that way. And then the last issue is on the concept of doing our business. Yes, us as security practitioners. You know, I have a large security organization. I have a few hundred practitioners in 13 different countries, and I protect one entity. We're not a security services firm. What's most difficult is, what does that cost? We spend so much of our shareholders' funds on security. If I were to be my own business, I would actually be ready to go public with the amount of money we spend. But in my opinion, it's still never enough. It's never going to be enough, and we have to prioritize. But how do you prioritize? How do you look at your risks? How do you look at the costs of remediation or implementation of new technologies? And how do you drive those decisions? And all of these questions come around the focus of defending the value chain for your company. Again, how do I make a widget? How do I sell a widget? How do I service it? And everything in between is my responsibility as a practitioner. So as we start to talk and think about how digitization and intelligence maps together to make this happen, we also have to look at a couple of new adjacencies as practitioners we have to focus on. I mentioned the word sustainability before because it's a key topic. Sustainability being able to drive our business. So for instance, I pay roughly 1 in 6 people in the United States, 1 in 10 pay slips around the world goes through our platforms. What if I don't have the capability to have our portals on? What if people can't connect into our APIs? What happens? How many people don't get their funds in their bank accounts at the end of the week? So business resiliency and new functions like DR and crisis management become a core part of what we as practitioners do every day. So how do you get there? How do you think of this as business operations protection and use intelligence as a platform to deliver those services? Well, first and foremost, you have to engage your business. Engaging your business and the transparency therein is the most important thing. And it's really a bi-directional view. So many of us are experts. Cyber experts, networking experts, privacy experts, risk experts. We can tell you up and down the stack how to protect your business or your operating system. How many people can tell me how your margins work? How your products go to market? How your clients use your products? When was the last time you sat in a call center and listened to people calling into your company? Do you know how your business works? Do you know the next 3 years of technology or services you're going to deliver to market? If you don't have that transparency, how do you expect to develop security programs that will protect them? The next is the business. So we have to be educated as practitioners, but the business has to be educated as well. They really have to have an understanding of what it takes, how bad guys can really ruin their day, stop them from delivering services, and being able to give clear understanding to that. The next area that we have to focus on is how our information moves. You know, in order to get paid, or for us to pay someone, you actually have to go through 11 different business platforms, 11. And each one of those may be in a different data center, or in a different part of the geography of the world, depending what product set you're on. And when you sit down with your business partners and you say, show me how your platform works, show me where the data moves, show me who has access to it, that's a very difficult thing. And I know earlier we talked about GDPR. One of the fundamental capabilities that we're going to have is being able to map our business processes. Sit down, see where our information moves, how it gets manipulated, and that focus on transparency into protecting those systems. Intelligence brings us other information. So there's a couple different types of intelligence. There's intelligence and information we receive to be able to act on our job. And then there's information that we have that we can give as intelligence back out. And part of the transparency to this business is to be able to give them intelligence, right? One of the most important things is within our relationship is giving them good information to help them make good decisions. You know, this is hard to see from back there, but these are some very simple maps that we provide our own business. Lower right-hand corner is probably one of the most predominant. You know, as security practitioners, we're often telling people that their baby is bad, their product isn't good, they have a problem with the business they manage. And that can get emotional, right? People want to push back on security because we tell them things aren't perfect. But when you can show it to them, and so for instance in that lower corner, that's the number of products we have in our go-to-market. And there's a question about vulnerabilities because we have to measure our vulnerabilities every day. That map simply shows that one product that's not doing so well. And so when I put that in front of the business owner, it's a non-emotional discussion. It's an easy way to have a conversation by using intelligence as a mechanism, as a conversation. Okay, second major area. First is the transparency with the business. The second is this concept of over-the-horizon threat modeling. We talked about it a little at the beginning with this issue of fighting from inside a box. If you don't understand what's hitting your adjacent industries, if you don't understand what's attacking governments in countries you support, if you don't know what's coming 3 years down the line, you're going to have a big problem. You have to be able to see over that horizon and then make interesting conclusions based on the data sets you have within your environment. So for instance, Equifax had a bad month, okay, a real bad month. But the question around that was their environment, their intelligence environment, giving them the right information to be able to go patch their environment. And although they had certain technology frameworks implemented, did they know where they all were? And that's an issue with all of us, not just with one company that had a bad month. So do you have the intelligence and data capabilities within your environment to listen to what's happening outside and look broadly across your own environment to make good security decisions on how to move your resources and your technologies? That information out there is relatively easily available. You can partner with law enforcement, you can partner with government entities. You can also get feeds directly from third parties. We have about 8 that we pay for in each one of our major industry segments that give us information about who's attacking who, and we use that in an automated way from an intelligence perspective. All of this is relating to intelligence-based operations. And when we think about what that means, first and foremost, understanding the ecosystem. Governments worry about the ecosystem of their country and where they operate and who may be looking to harm them. You have to do the same thing. It includes your third parties. It includes your vendors. It includes the countries that you operate in. What is the ecosystem and how do you define it? And how do you monitor for that information and collect that data? Next is intelligence-based operations around threat management. Now, threat management often is seen as pure cyber attack. But threat management can be around resiliency issues. It can be your internal threats. It can be third-party threats. So how are you measuring that, managing it? And how are you making your decisions based on the information you're receiving from those platforms? The last area, as practitioners, I can say that intelligence serves an incredible area, is this area around operational decision support. I receive, on average, about 20 different important reports every week. And those reports allow me to go and have a discussion with the business and with my executive team on where should we put our efforts. Operational decision support enables you to use your platforms, your technologies, your information as a decision support platform. Good risk information, good information about where my vulnerabilities are. How many of you have a platform or a collection capability internal that you can say, you know, that's a new threat. Where do I have it in my environment, and how big is the gap? Right? Being able to do that across your business and across your technology platforms are absolutely critical. And then, of course, this topic around business transparency. How do you feed that information back into your business? If you have a risk process, give them very detailed information on their risks, their gaps, and on a very regular basis. You know, we're entering into a new relationship with an industry forum around reviewing and managing risks as it relates to all our businesses, and being able to provide live updates on our ability to mitigate that risk. These are some of the things coming in next generation use of intelligence in our organization. The next part of your plan and your capability to get to business operations protection is a concept called critical asset protection programs. So CAP is our ability to look at the crown jewels, to prioritize, because we can't fix everything. We can't stop everything. So CAP has a few major portions to it. The first is, how do you identify them? As a security practitioner, I can tell you the network's important. I can tell you that you know, certain databases are important. But you have to sit down with the business and say, how could someone stop your business? What is your worst case scenario? So how do you do prioritization with your organization? Well, critical asset protection planning, the first thing is to sit down and go through that. Then do an appropriate risk assessment. How do I think about who could attack it internally and externally? Where does that fall? What are the threats against it? And do I have defensive capabilities in place in order to stop it? But it goes beyond that. It has to go into our monitoring. If we've said that's a critical asset, we found the risk, we've prioritized remediation, how do I monitor it? You know, the state, the Providence, is setting up a new security operations center. Do you have one? Do you have the capability to monitor your most critical assets? And even if you do, what happens when they go off? Do you have special security instructions? Do you have relationships with organizations that can help you investigate those? So make sure that you consider all of those when looking at your most critical assets. The last area in this section is around controls assurance. So I now say that I have to have certain things in my environment: identity and access management, auditing, logging, so many different components. But do they work? You know, we have a group called our Controls Assurance Group. They're not auditors, they're practitioners like you. Their job is to make sure that whatever I commit to, as far as our controls, is that they're operable, that the efficacy of those technologies are still working, and they're delivering the services we need. And they're also saying, hey boss, we don't need those anymore. We can get rid of those because there's nothing left in that area to protect. And controls assurance becomes an important part of any global security organizations. I think at the end, there's really the three things that we all know we have to do, is drive major security programs with a base of people, process, and technology. When it comes to running security and intelligence programs for commercial entities, what I will say is that there's some very specific things in each one of these areas you want to look at. From a people perspective, you want to be able to inform. If you're able to give them an understanding of what they have to do and why, it empowers them to go deliver that security. If you give people a mission every day to make them understand how their job affects the totality of the organization, they'll want to go do that. The next area is training our people. I'm from former military as well, and I think one thing all military say worldwide is, if you train hard, you fight hard. And that you have to train your people. You have to give them the skill set. And whether these are just regular education or whether you're actually doing red team and blue team exercises, they have to do it. Or they're not going to be successful when the time counts. And the last area is prepare them. Listen, if you still have job descriptions that says Firewall Engineer 1, And the truth is our business, our practitionership is going and doing things like advanced cloud analytics, and you're doing next generation technology sets, but our people are still being put into job families that have nothing to do with their job does anymore. That's our fault. So as leaders in this space, we have to fix that. The next area is around our processes. First of all, we have to go find them. What are our business processes? What are we protecting every day? What is the business doing that we have to enable and make sure we understand all the subsystems below that? How do you document that? Who documents it? How do you make that information available to your security operations, your engineering? How about to the business? I'm one of the biggest provider of information around business process to the business that I support. And then we have to improve our own processes, automate them. Why should our people be doing very manual work on a daily basis when you can use information that we receive externally and great data sets internally? In fact, we collect around 50 billion events a week into our security intelligence data platform. And we utilize that information to ensure that we understand our business processes. And at a technology level, first and foremost, we have to make sure that the technologies we choose, we implement, and we select can fit into your ecosystem, that they work well in your environment, they work well with your partners. You're able to use that in support of law enforcement operations when you're attacked. How do you think about developing an ecosystem, and how do you think about working within the third parties that you use and manage your data? Last, and I heard this morning, I think the good doctor mentioned this, it's really all about the data. Right? We have a responsibility and a mission criteria for confidentiality, integrity, and the availability of platforms. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, it's the information asset, that piece of data, that we have to figure out how to protect. Focus your technology on that. How your data moves, how your data is protected with encryption, and how you can observe it wherever it is in its life cycle. And the last component around technology is tangibility. Is it real? Is it useful? And is it making an impact for your business? So at the end of the day, a lot of information out there, a lot of intelligence you can use to help support your go-to-market. But just know that the future of your business depends on you through the use of business operation protection programs. So with that, go change your world. Start here locally and go change the rest of the world with the things that you are discovering and delivering around the globe on behalf of your companies. Thank you very much.
Very much. Thank you, Roland, for this very insightful presentation. And we certainly do agree that the fundamentals of cyber resilience comes from people, process, and technology. And I'm sure HICC will play a major role in terms of, concretizing that, three pillars of cyber resilience. Now, I would rather just kind of request the dignitaries to, go off the stage at this point in time. The reason is that people want to be also looking at the presentation. I think some of it is blocking. No offense to all of you, but, I request all of you to just, move out of the stage and please be seated in the front row. Now, I request the last speaker, I think Brigadier General, you can stay back. So you can stay back because you're going to be the last speaker of the inaugural session today, and I request you to just deliver the keynote speech, please. Presentation is right here. Presentation. You have a presentation? He has. Yeah. Can somebody just move here? Oh, you're volunteer, right? Sorry, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's a privilege for me to be here and to speak in front of you. I'm very thankful to Bharani Kumar and to my friend Bob Zakaria that makes this thing happen. And I'm very, very thankful to my partners here in Hyderabad, which made me this to be here in Hyderabad, second time in 1 month. L&B Group, which I hope we are going to have a long journey into cybersecurity in Hyderabad, Telangana, and India as a whole. So Amit, Yogesh, and Prashant, thank you very much. And it's a privilege to me to be here. My name is Doron Tamir. Most of my career was in the military, and I retired in 1996 and I went to the IT arena. Among that, I've been Vice President of Nest Technologies, which is a big IT company in Israel in partnership with a big Indian company. I think we were the first to engage with IT in India. And later on in 2011, Prime Minister approached me to come to assist establishing the Israeli National Cyber Bureau. And I would like to share with you, and of course since 2014, I'm the chairman of the Cybersecurity Group, which is a company that provides strategic consultancy, solutions, and integration, and most and for all, training. And I hope that for the benefit of our societies in India and Israel and here in Hyderabad, we will share the information for the benefit of all of us. I separate what is the difference between